I kind of wasn't a big fan of Persona 5, mostly because
There's
I by the time
120
I got around to
hours.
playing it, they were like, for the same generation, we're gonna go ahead and release the
Yeah,
Royal
you
version.
always.
I'm like, well, screw you. I already bought the old one. I'm done. So,
Oh, they got you.
hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. I'm your host today, Joe, and with me, the man who's fully re-energized after his power nap between shows, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Yeah, we did a little show earlier that we'll release later after this one, and you'll find out about that at that time. But yeah, I needed a little power nap in between that one and this one. And yeah, I feel energized and ready to go. Um, and that's all I have to
All
say
right.
about that.
Well, we're usually a podcast about games, entertainment,
Well,
life,
I,
anime, a
I
little bit
will.
of everything in between.
I,
But today, we're pretty much going to be about the Summer Game Fest, and that's almost about it.
so
That just came out. We were going to record this earlier, and we're like, wait, we got to postpone. And little did I know actually how long this thing was. Uh,
yeah, I didn't
so
realize it was going to be 4 freaking hours. I thought it was going to be like an hour. And whenever we finished our other podcast, I was like, I'm going to go watch the VOD of that. And it was still going on. And I was like, what the heck? But yeah, when I woke up, it was actually, well, when I woke up and then there's something, I decided to go ahead and watch it. And that was when the Devolver digital thing came out. And I thought I was having a nightmare. And I think you did too.
dude, I walked in the middle of that, and it's just like I'm in the middle of like prepping for dinner and stuff, and I'm like, it's like this a weird fever dream or something.
Yeah.
So he's just blowing up a balloon. And he's like, you don't want to disappoint people when you're at a party, and I'm like, what the hell? It was a trippy event,
Strange.
and only able to kind of watch it out of the corner of my eye while listening to it. It was for sure something different. But Devolver usually does very funny things
Yeah.
if you can watch it from the beginning. But when you stumble upon it, like I did,
Yeah.
it took me like 3 trailers to then go, "Oh, you jerks! You're Devolver, aren't you?" I'm like, once that clicked, I was just
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, this is them doing their big E3 presentation because they used to knock it out of the park with just their like stage shows and silliness,
Yeah.
theatrics." I'm like, for sure. So I guess good on Jeff Keighley for really making this a whole new spectacle. Like,
Yeah.
now that officially E3 is, totally dead. You have this Gamescom, TGS for the Asian groups, at the end of summer. So we don't got
Yeah.
a lot of opportunities like we used to.
Yeah. This I did want to talk about that because kind of give a little round of applause to Jeff Keighley. He's doing a really good job of honestly, he kind of owns the North and South Pole of the year with the Game Awards, in December, and now this E3 replacement thing that we have here. It's pretty cool, and I think that he's the right person to do this because he seems like he cares about games and the gaming industry and gamers like core gamers a lot more than really anybody else that I can name in the industry, which I think is cool. So anyway, just want to say, just kind of give a little shout out to him and say, doing a good job, Jeff, and hope keep going and doing it good.
All right, well then I come at this at a cynical level and be like, dude, you've been doing it for how many years? About time you got it right. Uh,
Well, did it would because the Game Awards used to be on Spike TV, right?
Uh, yeah, they needed financial funding, elsewhere, and then
It
for
was
a while they're adding more and more trailers or like extra ads and stuff like that because they were getting funded. And I think this last year they kind of hyper rushed a few people, so they're still screwing that up. So get it right next time.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, yeah, I mean, like it was, but I mean, like in all seriousness, it was a joke back a long time ago, and it was just sort of like a Game Awards type thing, or was that something different? Like, was that not Jeff Keighley? I don't remember. I need to go back and do some research, but I feel like there's been some kind of Game Awards for a very long time, and only very recently has it been um, starting to become basically the Oscars of games. And
See, I think that was the mistake is they tried doing the right spectacle of the Oscars, but they didn't have the right mindset, funding, or budget. And as the years have progressed, so has their skills and like they know
yeah,
what to do, and things have gotten better. I mean, this last year, no one rushed the stage or like that they wasn't supposed to be on.
you're always
Uh,
worried about little
so
silly details like that. Human safety.
they're getting better. Is all I gotta say is they are getting better every year. And like I said, this is a prime example of you know, previous summers. I don't feel was as full as this one was, and they really. But now this is the go-to like
Yeah.
campaign for the summer, right? This is the beginning of summer. Let's really knock it out of the park. It's just everyone really wants to be a part of this. They wants to get noticed, and he's doing a good job. So let's just get on with it because it's a long list, and we'll pretty much just talk about the ones that we're really interested in. But we're going to touch base a list out of almost all the games, I think. So yeah, go for it. Kick us off.
Okay, so I don't know why you're making me kick this one off because
I'm interested in this one.
you're interested in this one. I thought it was good looking. It's called Lego Horizon Adventure. Whenever I saw the Lego guy come up, I was like, I don't really give a dang about this, but it did kind of win me over because it's based on it's based on Horizon, the game about the mechanical dinosaurs and crap like that. But it looks good and it was quippy, but it's like a little kids game and it looks very competent. It is pretty and it's funny. They definitely had some good quippy dialogue that I didn't laugh out loud, but I was like, it's worth a smile. And so I kind of liked it for that, but you seem to like it a bit more.
Well, I'm a fan of the Horizon property as a whole. The Lego company as a whole, like entertainment wise, has really done good things with like the Jurassic Park series or the Jurassic World series. A lot of tongue in cheek humor. Their TV shows, which my son loves. And I can't really show him Jurassic Park, but I can show him the Lego Jurassic Park, and they
Mm,
do a lot of uh, making fun of themselves. And it's just like the type of humor they have is like, all right, I'm okay with what this is. This is a good enough. Uh, they know what they are. They know who to make fun of, and they don't take themselves too seriously. And
yeah.
that's all you need really. With this, it's most definitely more of that. I've seen the Lego. They actually have legit Lego Horizon uh, figures. Like they have the was it the giraffe essentially, the satellite dish. They have one of those. I'm like, that's really cool. I have nowhere I'm going to put that, and it just seems encumbersome as crap to have in your house somewhere because it's meant to be a four-legged beast. It's not like something that I feel comfortable I can like suspend from a ceiling like the Saturn V rocket that I want, which I'm also not going to get because it's too damn big, or like the Millennium Falcon or anything like that. But yeah, for sure, they're taking a fun property. Uh, Something that you don't expect. I mean, now a lot of people can have fun and be like, okay, what other main video game line that usually is not a Lego thing? What can they make Lego? Uh, Come on, Ghost of Tsushima. Just have a Lego samurai dude just lopping off heads. It works, man. All right, the Lego heads are meant to be taken apart or bisected, just right at the waist. Uh,
It's pretty. You're kind of right. Yeah.
you know how much Lego grass you can sell to people and fake flowers make people are gonna make their own fields. Yeah, all right. Uh, Anyways, no, that's like I said. I was surprised. I didn't know this was coming, and this is cool. Plus, it's co-op. I've
Mm.
played the other Lego games from the past, the original like Star Wars games and
Is
stuff
this
like that. Back when I used to, yeah.
is this one? I feel like this one was one of the ones you said was couch and online co-op, but it might be a different one. Anyway.
Um, I feel like they're all still couch co-op.
Okay.
Yeah, they're one of the few games that it doesn't make sense to not have couch co-op. I actually
Yeah.
don't remember if they stated that in this. I just remember them saying co-op on the screen. But yeah, I mean, it'd be lunacy to not have couch co-op on this.
Yeah.
So all right, then yeah, keep on with the list, man.
So next up, No More Room in Hell, which is apparently there was a SFM mod or whatever of I guess it was, I don't know what game it was off of, probably Left 4 Dead, I don't know, but anyway, some SFM mod that came out in 2011, and this is kind of the sequel to that, but I think in its own right, its own engine or whatever. So it's a zombie game. It looks all right. Um, uh, Next up is a another Quidditch game. Um, don't really care too much about this, but it's happening. It doesn't look like it's really related to the Hogwarts game that came out recently. Um, Not really the
Yeah,
same
they
art
made.
style.
I felt like the art style to this looked more. Was it not? It actually ended up looking more like not PUBG, but the other online shooter. Um,
Fortnite,
yeah, Fortnite. It had that Fortnite art style. It was like that cartoony
a little
look to it.
simple, yeah.
A little bit of character exaggeration, the hair. I mean, but the thing is, like, I quit it. Like, the movies are gone for so long now. They made a Quidditch game that wasn't that great back on the PS2. No one was. I feel like no one was screaming for a new Quidditch game. There's no real hotness with the movies to tie it in. It just feels really odd and out of place. Um, and they were focusing on like Ginny Weasley of all the people, like in the beginning
Yeah.
of the trailer. So I was just like, that seemed really just, forced. I guess is the
The
best way to put it.
the new generation, we can use a character that no one cares about without the studio getting mad. Yeah, maybe that's kind of what they're going for. Maybe it's going to be like I'm thinking since there's not quite so much focus on graphics, that it's going to be more um, intense on the gameplay and kind of clarity and be more like a sports game in that aspect. We'll see. I don't
Okay.
even remember what this was. Cuff Bust.
Yeah, so it's like a prison breaking out simulator.
Okay.
It felt like if I had to give a couple game description, it's like Fall Guys slash like Among Us, like weird character, people, and you're trying to, there's like a riot going on. It shows you running to the bathroom, grab soap to like soap up the floors to trip the guards and doing things to get out of prison. I think this would be most definitely a good like Twitch game. Something I think it'd be comical to watch the right people play,
Was
because
this the
you're
one
trying to
with
think,
the weird bear looking color, like bear looking creatures? Is it
something like that. Yeah.
okay? And there's like a
And so
helicopter and they shoot it down at the end. Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
So
remember now. So this game is made by a guy, a single guy that made a kind of a sneaky Steam hit called Choo Choo Charles. It's like a horror train game that people were excited about and liked. And anyway, so he made that a little while ago, and then he has been working on this as well. Um, but yeah, it looks kind of like a streamer type game. Yeah, I'll say it's probably going to be funny, haha, for that. But also looks like it's going to be pretty. I don't know. It looks all right.
all right.
Next up is Star Wars Outlaws, which I hadn't really had too much experience thought with. But you were saying that this is one that had a bit of a kerfuffle a while ago with the messed up facial animations.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before
Okay, I just
with
forgot.
other game events, and it's because you couldn't remember what kind of game it was. It's just pretty much your average third person character action game,
Yeah.
and seeming to be set probably in the most in the favorable timeline of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Probably between, like, I'm not sure, but you see what looks like Jabba the Hutt. It could be any other Hutt for all you know.
They're all
Just not pizza. And so
yeah.
the then well, I mean, Spaceballs. That's what we need. We just give us a Spaceballs game.
Man,
Forget the rest.
man, don't don't wave that in front of me. Yeah, this game it does kind of just look like a character action game, but it's pretty good looking as far as like graphics and stuff goes. Um, didn't really see much of a HUD, so I kind of wonder what that's gonna really be like. But yeah, my first impression of it was that it would be a little bit more like story intensive and more like choicey than shooty. And I guess I am wrong about that, but it looked like it would benefit from that as a kind of a different
I
sort of
feel like it's
story.
gonna I feel like it's gonna be more of a quippy thing, kinda like closer to an Uncharted,
Yeah.
than it would be, it's I feel that, you're playing a female Han Solo is what it feels like.
Mm,
You know,
sounds
the
right.
rogue archetype or whatever, someone or, smuggler or something like that, so I figure that's the vibe they're going for because it honestly, that's that kind of character sells better. To have someone who's more, shoot first, ask questions later, except for Han. Apparently, he now shoots second, but whatever. Um, and yeah, I like the Star Wars universe, and I'll see what they do with it. I liked what they did with the Fallen Order, and stuff like that. So I like a good Star Wars game,
Yeah.
but at the same right now they just haven't sold me on what this is yet. Like there's no hook for me. I need a good story. Uh, and at least, the Jedi Fallen Order had that and the sequel, which is eluding me right now. Uh, so yeah, we'll see. It's Star Wars, unless if they cancel it like they do like almost all the other games. This should do well
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
either do well as a Star Wars game or you get canceled, and everyone's upset about it.
I'm definitely not gonna look to buy this, whatever day one. But if it surprises people and people are talking about it in a way that in that more story heavy sort of way, which I kind of doubt at this point. But if they start talking about it that way, then I might try to pick it up. Hang on a second. All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, the only kerfuffle was, like, when it first debuted. This is an Unreal, 5 and, game, so that's the one reason why it looks so nice. But it was you're seeing some cinematics, then also interlaced with, like, well, you're getting good reflections, but then also in, like, in the darker scenes, their eyes and, facial structure, but mostly the eyes looked really off, and it was,
Mm,
like, the uncanny valley effect where, like, yeah, it kinda looks wrong, um,
yeah.
and a lot of people were just really panning it for for not having the most pristine graphics. I'm like, it's a situational thing. It's still early. They still polish. It's fine. I think people are being too critical of it because they really want a good Star Wars game, and there's a lot of diehard fans. They're going to be overly critical. So I think it'll be fine when it comes out.
Yeah. All right. Next up is a little game called Neva, and we talked about this before. And I was interested in it before. This is from the people that made Grease, um, which is Spanish for gray. And this game, what interests me about this game is looks very kind of emotional and kind of like Joe and I were talking about this type of game, but with a different game. And I think I'm gonna start calling these therapy games because they're like about someone's working through their trauma in some way, shape, or form. Because that's kind of how Greece was in a roundabout way. Um, anyway, so this has that feeling, that therapy type feeling, but different from Greece. I think it has more gameplay and less just visual kind of walkthrough. So that's kind of what's got me excited about it. But it still looks good and it just kind of looks interesting. So I'm excited to play that. I don't know. I don't remember when they said that was coming out, but I will probably try to pick it up because it's probably not going to be too expensive. I don't imagine. It looks like because Greece was only like $20, maybe. So should be very within reason. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at it and I'm like, it looks pretty. It looks really pretty. Also, I got a lot of like knockoff Mononoke vibes on it. So I'm
Yeah,
like, all right, hugging the deer. I'm like, or whatever. I'm like, okay, be one with nature. And
it's
so I
got a
really didn't care.
it's got a
I
wolf
didn't get
deer.
really into Greece either, because I pronounced it Greece forever. Um, so that was
I think it's Greece, but yeah, because it's Spanish.
I
But
believe you're right. I won't doubt you on that. It's just I just also wasn't really invested into it. I mean, other than it looking also having a great look to it, but I just remember like just dabbling in it a little bit, and then it just didn't hook me.
yeah,
So if I gave it a little more time, then I'd probably be singing a different tune right now. So I'm kind of curious about this. Like I said, it looks good. So all right.
Next up is Sid Meier's Civilization 7 is coming out. This kind of got a little bit quickly leaked earlier today. They effed up and put a banner up on their site, and people saw it before they had a chance to take it down. So that was just kind of just like a little silly little leak, but no big deal. Um, Civilization is a game series that I've never been able to get into. It's just always seemed too daunting to me. I've heard about the turn times on that, and um, I heard it's kind of. I mean, I've just always heard it's like very in depth. Sounds like a very good game, and I'm sure Civ 7 is going to be amazing, like 5 and 6 have been. But it's just it's not going to be for me. It's just too much of a time commitment, I think.
Yeah, I don't have the time for it now, but I used to love the crap out of Civ. Um, the most basic one I told people that if they didn't never knew what one to jump into, I'm like, if you have an Xbox 360, go with I think it was Civ Revolution or I think it's Revolution, and it was the most streamlined version of that, uh,
Have to
and it
be.
was a lot of fun. It was a good gateway into the Civilization like games, but it's most definitely a. They don't tell you squat, but it's all written there in their manual, which is like reading like a legit car manual or something like that. It's like if you don't know what you're reading or where to look, it becomes just a garbled mess. And so it's usually I'm gonna play like a dozen games for so it's gonna take you a long time just to even get like warmed up and like then now I got the feeling for it. It's like that's your tutorial. Um, Playing with friends was fun, super annoying though because just how much time it took. I believe they did speed up some of that stuff in Civ 6. I actually never moved on past 5 because like this is all the game I need.
Yeah.
There's
That
they did
was
that and beyond. Yeah.
that was the feeling I got was Civ 6 kind of just didn't really do too much that more than what Civ 5 was already. Like Civ 5 seems like it was the kind of the thing that turned the page. The I don't know what you're gonna call it. It was kind of the big leap forward. And Civ 6 was like, here's some interesting different stuff. So people weren't as excited about it, at least as far as I could tell. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are plenty of people like 7. They're probably going to be better streamlined, is my
Yeah.
guess. And I think it's going to be the better on the boarding for most people. So yeah, I'm curious to see how they've learned from previous ones. Um, I don't think I'll give it a shot, but just because once again, a single Civ is devastatingly like more in depth than like you think. It seems like a simple game when you on paper. When you get into it, it's a one more turn. It's the best definition of a one more turn game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just one more round and just another round. What's gonna hurt? And
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, oh crap. Yeah, let me just finish this next round. Uh,
Yeah.
so
You can't, yeah. Anyway, um, can't end on a loss, can't stop on a streak. That's the way it goes. Next up, Black Myth Wukong um, has a collector's edition stuff revealed, 40 centimeter figure. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Um, but I don't know if there's actually a release date for this. I feel like I've been hearing about Black Myth Wukong for ever and ever. Um, I don't I don't have anything against this game. I just wish it would come out so I could decide if it's something that I want to play. I don't think that it is, but they're talking about it some more. So that's that.
yep.
Next up, Asgard's Wrath. I don't remember what this looked like, but I guess it wasn't all that interesting to me because I haven't really seen it mentioned in really any of the other stuff from like Games Radar or GameSpot or anything like that. So I don't really remember. Do you remember anything about this one?
This is a sequel, right? Yeah, this is Asgard's Wrath 2. I don't know much about this one either. I thought they made the first one in VR, and I wasn't sure if the second one was supposed to be coming out on Quest, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so yeah, that was like I know it was like looked at as favorable. But I thought this is like I said, I actually missed this trailer, so I didn't actually see this one. So I'm not sure if they're because I know this Asgard's Wrath 2, I thought already came out for the Quest. Um, Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Okay.
I just know that people were talking about it for the PSVR circles, and like tentatively hoping slash expecting, that it'll come their way. But yeah, that's all I can really say about that.
Next up, you were kind of interested in this one, I think. Once Human. This looked kind of cool to me, but I don't really remember too much about it.
Well, it's just interesting art direction.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
this one, it just had a really interesting screenshots. Essentially, is the best way to put it. They had like a bus or something like that on like spider legs. Uh,
Yeah, it's sort of that
very
like Cthulhu like world, right? Where you kind of you're shooting around, but there's like these sort of what is it called? These monsters that have those kind of like things happening to them.
yeah. It kind of gave me the vibes of um. Oh goodness, it was the that Dark Souls shooter game I was telling you about beforehand. Um. Not Oh, goodness gracious, I am just dropping the ball on this one. But it feels there's a Dark Souls, third person shooter. They made 2 of them, 2 of these games, and it kinda feels like that. Crap, I really can't remember. But yeah, it has this unique feel to it. Like I said, it's interesting to have the design and the look of it. At the very end, for example, they show an airliner that's flapping its wings like a dragon. It's
Oh
just like
yeah.
that is some decent imagery at least. And not knowing exactly much about the story, but I feel like game could be uh it could go places. A good squad based shooter could be good, and that's all I really had. It just had my interest because if it's doing something unique, uh, I at least like to give things a look. But a lot of Far East stuff that they're coming out with, like that Black Myth Wukong, has a unique art style too. I would like to look at it, but as far as this goes, I'm like, if I have enough people to play with, like I think that would be that's the thing is Remnant. Remnant is the name of the game I was thinking of.
You
Um
got there.
and Remnant, that one is like I said, I really, really like that one. I'm not a big Dark Souls fan, and it's not really one to one comparable to Dark Souls. But it's if you had to do dark, if you use the description Dark Souls with guns and the sounds, so it kind of made me feel like it was like, from them. It's not the same team, unfortunately.
Hmm.
If it was, that'd be awesome. But once again, it has that vibe, so I'm hopeful is all I can say.
Okay. Space Marine 2, Warhammer 40K property, is coming out. It looks all right. It looks probably um, maybe uh, a half step behind maybe some other games in the same ilk. But I like the concept of Space Marines. I feel like it's as it's kind of been proven already. That universe is ripe for game development, usage and anyway, this looks like it could be a cool like one of those sort of shooty actiony type games with if it has like a heavy feel like I think that it should, and I think that it maybe does, then it could be kind of cool. But that one kind of piqued my interest a little bit. Um,
Yeah. I if since it's Space Marines, then they're gonna have that saw sword of theirs, which
mm,
was recently used in that Fallout TV show.
yeah.
Essentially, yeah, like the dude gets his head cut off with essentially that blade. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that's from. Uh,
Adeptus
but
Mechanicus. Yeah.
No, 40K is 40K. I love anything like in that universe. I'm not a Warhammer OG fan, but I am a 40K fan. Um,
Most people like
everything from the
40K more, I
Dawn of
think.
War stuff. I'm a sci-fi person. That's all. Like if I have a choice between sci-fi or like high fantasy or anything like that, I always choose sci-fi without a doubt.
Yeah.
Just something about I just kind of changed that way. Like as a kid, I think I was a big high fantasy fan, but like since high school and beyond, I've just been always solid into the anything sci-fi related. And yeah, this is the last Space Marines was pretty cool. It'll be neat to see this one. But I remember, yeah, I'm remembering it as more of a third person shooter kind of style, if I remember correctly. I
Yeah.
could be remembering it wrong. Uh,
I feel like
I
there's
know
some
there's
sword swinging
cloud-based.
and stuff in there, but there seems to be. I mean, obviously they have guns and stuff like that, so those are kind of their bolt rifle or whatever is their main weapon. So that's probably the main type of gameplay is going to be third person shooting. Um, but yeah, it looks like it could be good.
All right,
Next
that
up,
was
they had a bit more, a little bit longer. They brought up some guys, some of the developers for this next one to talk about it a bit more. Metaphor Ray Fantasio, which is from the developers of Persona. Um,
yeah, Team Atlas.
Team
It's
Atlas.
Shin Megami.
Yeah, yeah. So it has less of the Shin Megami look and more of the Persona look. I would say it's kind of a little more stylized like that. I think that um, it seems it seems a little bit more like the B tier sort of game. Um, they were trying to explain the battle system as like a job system and stuff like that, and my eyes kind of glazed over. Um, it looks okay. It just doesn't really look like if I was a really big fan of Persona and Shin Megami or Atlas games in general, then I would probably want to pick this up. But like Soul Sacrifice 2 that came out like a while ago that I think I bought and I know that I returned or maybe I didn't actually buy it but played it anyway. That Soul Hackers 2, that's what it's called. Um, that left kind of a bad taste in my mouth because it was immediately not good out of the gate. This one looks better. I'll be honest, but still doesn't look like enough to really move the needle for me. Enough to buy.
Soul Sacrifice is also, I'm pretty sure, Shin Megami series. But
Probably.
anyways, yeah. Um, there so is Digital Soul Summoner and like a bunch of others. Shin Megami games were fun in the day. I think it's for me it always feels the same after a certain point. It's always the same kind of tropes, and it's
Yeah.
like let's tell the same story but just a little different. But it feels like so many of the same beats. Um,
Yeah. Shin
it was
Megami.
funny because
Go ahead.
they're talking about they're talking about your summons you can do and
Mm.
how you can do the whatever ability. I'm like, and then I'm in my brain. I'm like, you mean your persona? You're pulling your persona. You can teach other
No.
people to use personas, but
No.
I forgot what word they were using.
I was just
Yeah, it was
different.
just uh, no. I mean, they have a style, and if you're into that and a rhythm and a style, and if you're into it, that's great. It's more of the same, I feel. But unfortunately, um, I stopped playing the dungeon crawler stuff, and like I've eventually turned more into Persona fan, uh, just for the dialogue and like the life simulator portions.
Yeah.
Uh, and I kind of just dropped off. I kind of wasn't a big fan of Persona 5, mostly because
There's
I by the time
120
I got around to
hours.
playing it, they were like, for the same generation, we're gonna go ahead and release the
Yeah.
Royal
You
version.
always.
I'm like, well, screw you. I already bought the old one. I'm done. So
Oh, they got you. Uh,
they did, but I was like, dude, you could at least waited to generation before you went ahead and
I know
screwed us
because
over.
that Persona 5 Royal came out not very long after that, not long enough to make it make sense. Yeah, the Shin Megami series, from what I understand, is a little bit more hardcore JRPG and also difficult. So that's I've heard people talk about it and they're like it's good, but you really have to get in the weeds with the
There's usually a
gameplay.
portion where you have to grind. There's
Yeah,
almost always a portion where you're stuck grinding. Because I played a lot of the old Shin Megami games. I have a lot. I used to collect any Shin Megami game when they first came out. So I have all his early works that came over to the US.
yeah,
And guaranteed there was always just a garbage spot where like now I'm stuck for the next hour or two grinding, and then Luckily now you can look up the most efficient ways to do that. But back then it was just like, and I'm just gonna run around circles in this spot. And they
Yeah.
were really, really focused on dungeon crawling back then. I haven't played any of the newer stuff, so they probably got less dungeon crawl, but they were like you traditionally like also first person, like old school Shining Force dungeon crawling. Some crazy stuff. I mean, really cool, really edge lord stuff back when you're like in high school. That's awesome. Just
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm old man now and I've grown out of that.
Old man
So
edgelord.
that's a different thing. Uh, but all right,
Uh,
I'm done with that. Next one.
okay. Batman Arkham Shadow. So this is for VR. It doesn't have VR in the title, but it's for VR. They just had a story trailer, and so they kind of just showed snippets of some of the CG animations that are kind of going on, and give you a feel of the story, but without actually giving any specifics. It's always good to have another VR game. This looks for the little we can see, it looks okay. It looks like it's not at least crapping the bed right out of the gate. So we shall have to, see how far it goes, I guess, or how well it does.
Yeah, the last Batman Arkham VR game was short, but it was fun. It was just more of a adventure game where you try to find the clues, solve a mystery type of deal, and so it's different from this. But it was decent enough for what little it was, and it was also early in like PS1 VR lifespan, and our VR was still so young at the time in general. So it's nice to see them trying to make a real game, and yeah, that's it. I mean, hopefully it comes out good.
Next up, Street Fighter is adding characters from Fatal Fury, 4 characters from Fatal Fury, in their second season, which is coming out. Yeah, because it's about this time last year, right? Like June, that Street Fighter came out. Um,
I think they're adding 3 characters, and then one is a Street Fighter character. They're adding M Bison back.
oh, M. Bison. Yeah, that
Uh,
was right. Okay.
yeah, so they're adding M Bison back. He was the one in the hood.
Right.
And then there's Terry Bogart, Mai Shinonori, and I don't know who the third person was. I wasn't familiar with them because I haven't played. I was an old school Fatal Fury fan, so I'm not really sure who that last person was. Uh, yeah,
Oh,
I was
sorry.
I was like I was stupid excited about that though. I'm like Terry Bogart, oh, like awesome. He needs to be in more games in general.
One
So
thing that I did forget to say about the Batman Arkham Shadow is that it's going to be a Meta Quest 3 exclusive. So that's kind of, I remember hearing that and being like, okay, because it's not going to be on everything. So it's a little bit locked up there, but it'll probably come to most other things. At least that would be the play that I would make if I was in the VR industry, is very, very, very limited exclusivity, because
yeah,
you
if
want.
I was a betting man, I would say you have a year locked behind exclusivity, and then it'll come out be ported out elsewhere
I would
because
hope. I mean,
making
if
games.
if I was them, I would, because I know I've heard them say this before. It's been years, but I know that I've heard them say that VR can't really afford exclusivity because it needs to try to survive as a its own industry pretty much first, and then once it's strong and it's in enough households, then they can start trying to divvy up territory. But a year I would say would be too long. I hope only like 6 months max before it comes out, just for the health of the industry.
Yeah, I I like your positivity, and I will hope for that as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Next up, Tears of Metal, a medieval hack and slash co-op roguelike. Okay, yeah, this is the one. This is like Scottish based. It seems like it's based on Scottish history, maybe very loosely, maybe less loosely. I don't know, but sort of has a cell shaded, sort of simplified art style. Shows blood, and yeah, hack and slash co-op roguelike. Um, it has an upgrade system and stuff like that. Looks okay. Probably not something I'm going to play, but looks like an interesting piece of history to try to make a game about.
Yeah. It looks neat. It's developed by Paper Cult, and I'm like, that's a great little name. They did Blood Roots, which I remember it looked interesting. I never actually got to play it, but it kind of reminded me of the like the art style was that kind of reminiscent of Shank or was it Mark of the Ninja? Was
Mm,
that it? Yeah, it had that like just that cell shaded art, if I remember correctly.
okay.
So, but yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll see when it comes out.
We shall see. Next up, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So this is another Dragon Ball fighter with all your favorite Dragon Ball characters, Dragon Ball and charging up, powering up, and screaming for minutes on end. Yeah,
A retelling of the entire story arc. That's the thing is it's like it's
spoiler.
telling all the same old stories that all the other games
Yeah.
do, and then it tells you it, but it looks like it carries it further to the super stuff probably. So
Okay.
that hey, I mean, every console generation needs a new Dragon Ball
Every
retelling the same old story, just like how many times you get the same superhero story again, every few
how
years,
many
like
times is Uncle Ben gonna get shot in the head? Um,
every time,
every time.
every.
Twice on Sundays. Yeah, I mean every time there's a new iteration of anything, a new Dragon Ball game. We're just joking around. We have nothing against Dragon Ball fighting games. Yeah, looks like
I
it's
actually think it looks good, and so
does.
therefore it being the same, an actual decent retelling of the story.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's different from Fighters, you know.
Fighter Z
Uh,
fighters. Yeah.
yeah. So, is this done by who's doing this?
I
This is
don't
Arcs, or I didn't see who was doing this one.
I don't know, but it does have an October 11th release date. Oh, I mispronounced it. It's Sparking exclamation point zero. Um, and not Sparking Zero, which, to be fair, their title does sound cooler, even if it's very confusing. But okay.
All
Yeah.
right, this is by Spike Chunsoft. Okay. Um,
Oh, Spike Chunsoft. They do all of them, don't they?
uh, Arc System Works did Fighters with a Z. So,
Okay. But
but
Spike
this one's off
Chunsoft,
the
I remember hearing about them before.
Sparking Zero is based off the other franchise, which I'm not Budokai. I forget which, but it's supposed to be a successor off the one of the old franchises that I guess they put down. Um, yeah, it's Budokai. I think this is based off the Budokai kind of
Um,
mindset.
because that was the old hotness. Because Budokai was the old hotness back in the day before Fighter Z, right? So is it shifting back? I don't know.
It was the more reliable friend. Like it came like I said they made plenty of them. They also made the Xeno it's not Xenoverse or Xeno something. Yeah, it might be Xenoverse. So anyways, like I said, they make a lot of them. I kind of stepped away from the Dragon Ball games for a while. I still will argue that the Super Famicom version is the greatest of all time. Only because it is just brain dead simple,
Mm,
and it is it's one of the most fun you can have with a friend. Just if you guys know, there's only like two power move combinations for almost every character, and they're the
mm.
exact same. And so you're like, okay, I'm just gonna start the match. You guys jump back as far as you can, power up, go ahead and like
Jousting.
half sprint forward or something like that. You both try to do the special move at the exact same time. One of you is gonna win. The moment the power beam is done, you drop your hands, and then the other person can counter. And that exact moment when you succeed, the beams touch, and then you have to smash the power button, and you're just randomly mashing your controller until one of you wins. And then when you lose, the moment the hands drop again, you can then recast it. And if you succeed, then the other person, because each time you use the power move, it took off half your power bar. So if you do it right, you have a full power bar on each side. You take then you both lose half. Like one person loses half, the other one loses half. Then the other person will lose half again, and then if they are you can counter back and forth a couple times, and it's stupid. You get massive damage, and then the first thing you do again is power up and then that was it. That was just to see who can do it the best. We probably destroyed a few controllers that way, and then it was like I said, it was so simple, so much fun. Didn't need to know a lick of Japanese to figure this out because those games were strictly in Japanese at the time.
Uh,
Um, Yeah, it was good times. So that's why I have a special endearing spot in the old Dragon Ball games. But no, the graphics look better each time. They really do a great job of you know making like good story points or referencing. Like Fighters was just amazing with all the inside jokes you can have. Um,
Mm,
or like if you pick certain characters who have legendary fights, and then that person loses like they do in the game, then like they have little Easter eggs and sequences, and it was amazing. So honestly, they're fun to watch. They're fun to play. I think they get too much crap just because Dragon Ball's old, but honestly, they're a staple for kind of a reason. So
they've definitely been around a long time. Next up, Delta Force Hawk Ops. I thought Jeff Keighley said Hot Ops whenever he announced this, and I wrote it down that like that, and then I'm seeing it later. Hawk Ops. Don't know too much about Delta Force. Looks like a shooter. I don't know if it'll be good, but it was there.
yeah, don't know if it has anything to do with the old Delta Force games, like franchise, but it kind of looks like a like it can fit that role of SOCOM or the old Rainbow Six games used to do as a squad based, tactical, shooter. And there's most definitely a market for those. A lot of people still reminisce about the old SOCOM days, or like just what Rainbow Six used to be.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can see there being a market for it. They seem to have a couple different campaigns kind of things going on. So yeah, we'll see.
Next up, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Was this a fighting game or was this
Yeah.
a okay? Okay. Anyway, so that's coming out, but it's not going to be till 2025. So I guess they're spacing some of their stuff out. But yeah, I don't really remember. I guess it's a fighting game, but I
This
don't
is
remember
the
too
one where I
much more about
had
it.
the guy cosplaying as a blonde. Um, they show him just there, and the next thing you know, they show him with blonde hair, like in the arcade. Then they go into the actual game itself.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't the best trailer. But if it's a legit Fatal Fury successor, it's been a while. I feel so. Yeah, we'll see.
Next
That's
up,
what comes with all these.
we'll see. Battle Crush coming in June. That was shown here. Don't really remember what this one really looks like, but I have a feeling that it's a sort of a multiplayer, sort of a simple idea thing, but I can't remember much about it.
I missed this one altogether.
Okay.
At a cursory glance, it looks like a um, third person like isometric action game, but I have no idea. It's just I'm seeing an isometric like top down view and someone swinging a trident in a circular motion. That
Yeah.
is all. I missed this one altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, no clue.
Next up, Mecha Break, which I remember it looking cool, um, but not seeing. Okay, yeah, this is so this is sort of like a, I don't know if I'm using the right word, but basically like Mech Warrior, I think, type game. It's a mech battling game. Looks like a bit of a bullet hell, but not top down, more like over the shoulder. It looks like different mechs are going to have a lot of different movement types, like more ground focused, and then others more up in the air, shooting all kinds of missiles and stuff. So I've kind of always thought mech games have not really, like the technology has not been there yet in all the years of gaming to really make a mech game feel like it should. But I think that we're getting closer because I think we have to. I think there's several sort of genres and gameplay types that kind of have to get, that kind of have to be married, and then the worlds have to be big enough, and then everything has to be fast enough to make it feel cool. And I think that this is probably a step closer to that direction. Looks cool. Also looks like it might not be good. And also the other thing with mech games is they tend to always get way too far, and in TV shows, as they tend to get too far in the weeds with all the little nitty gritty. It's almost like a Gran Turismo type upgrades and stuff like that that kind of break the fun for me. And this, I'm seeing some screenshots of this that also make me think that might be the case here, but then again, maybe not. Anyway, it looks cool. I probably wouldn't buy this, but I'm going to keep an eye on it at least.
Yeah, I missed this one. I must have missed this little segment here. But yeah, it looks like you can go in depth with like customization, like Armored Core or something like that. You got one of two types of mech games. You either got fast paced action or you got the slow, burly tank. I mean, some depending on which if you're in Japan and you go to do a mech game, like you got to be careful when you jump into the arcade because sometimes they're like, you either get something cool like a virtual on, or you get something slow and cumbersome that you weren't expecting, and yeah, it can really be like Gundam games have been notorious for this. Some of them being too fast or too slow, depending on what your style is. I like the Armored Core quite a bit, so I'm kind of more upbeat on it. But this one, like I said, I didn't even see this at all. Um, but they are showing a Macross crossover or something, or an ad. So I'm like, you know what? If I can get the old Macross um, robot in there, that'd be awesome because that's just a nostalgia factor for me. But at the same time, it feels it's a weird tie-in, so it feels like almost mobile. So
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure about this. So I'm
Uh,
apprehensive, I guess.
yeah. With Mac games, you have to be careful. Next up, Blumhouse Games came out and did Mr. Blumhouse. I think I don't even remember his name, James. Anyway, Mr. Blumhouse, Blum himself, came out with one of his employees or coworkers or whatever, and they talked about a bunch of the games that they have coming out. Did like a little sort of interview, um, and he kind of just sort of pitched them more or less to and got people excited about them. So Blumhouse, if it sounds familiar, it's because they make movies. So a lot of cheap horror movies. They most famously made Get Out, and they've done a bunch of other stuff as well. Friday Night at Freddy's or Five Nights at Freddy's rather. They made that movie.
They did the Purge films and like Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
Um,
and
so they have quite a few different ones.
yeah, they've been doing stuff for years. They've done a really good job of making of like I said, cheap horror movies, but trying to hit kind of the jackpot on a good idea, um, and that is cheap to make, and then making a bunch of money off of it or getting a bunch of accolades, which is sort of where they got with like Get Out and The Purge. So it seems like they're kind of trying to do that here with games as well, because they have 6 horror games that they're coming out with that they showed snippets of, and they're upfront about it, that they're low cost essentially to make. They don't say it that way, but they're pretty upfront about that, and they kind of talk about how they're story focused and kind of cool ideas and stuff, and it seems like it. They do seem different and interesting, and they all seem like they're not going to be very long, as in probably less than 20 hours to be sure, and I would imagine around 10 or maybe even less than that. But a couple of them seem interesting. I'm just going to list them and then go back through which ones I think are interesting. First is Crisol, Theater of Eidos. This was like a first-person kind of 3D sort of game. Looks like it might be somewhere between a walking simulator and a shooter. I'm not too sure about that. Grave Seasons. This is like a farming simulator with murder at certain points, which is which is his Blum's coworker kind of gave it that, and that was kind of got a little bit of a laugh from the crowd. Next is Sleep Awake, which I couldn't really tell you much more about this other than it seems like it's about someone that cannot sleep, or is afraid to go to sleep, but also doesn't want to be awake and think they're hallucinating, but also it's real. It's like real and fantasy kind of mixed together. And I think you're like, don't know whether they're losing their mind, but it looks like it's got some pretty cool monsters. It might be all right. Fear the Spotlight. This one was about 2 kids that break into a high school, and then weird stuff happens. It looks a little bit more PlayStation 1 type graphics, that sort of aesthetic, which is kind of having a bit of a comeback, um, a little bit along the lines of Stellaris. Dang, what was that game that came out last year? Horror game came out last year. Anyway, like that. I think I lost your mic.
Stellaris was that 16-bit looking game
Ye-
that came out last year.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is. But it looks a little bit. It's different. Same but different. Maybe a little bit rougher even than that. Um, but anyway, that one looked kind of cool. And then the simulation, which I can't remember, and Project C, which I also can't really remember. But Grave Seasons, the murder farm sim, um, and then Fear the Spotlight seemed the most interesting to me. Just right off the bat, I think if I was gonna buy only one, I would probably go for Grave Seasons. Looks like the most digestible and kind of chill, but also a little bit creepy. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the long and short of the Blumhouse games spotlight featurette thing that they had there.
Yeah, I completely missed it. I somehow I
Yeah.
think I was just busy with my kids
Well,
or
this
something.
one, I
I
mean,
ended up missing this.
it's not like like we kind of approach this in two different ways. You're a bit more efficient about it, going to, a conglomeration of sort of the best stuff, and I don't think this made it onto a lot of lists because it's a little bit smaller type games, not really wowing and anything like that. So
Yeah,
anyway,
Blumhouse also did that Doll movie not that long ago.
Megan, yeah,
Megan, yeah.
yeah. Um,
So I mean, I know a lot of people talked about it, but so yeah, small size horror games are fun in their own right. I mean, PSVR 2 is nothing like is either half roguelike games or horror games. That's about the majority of those games. I kind of want to. I know you're a big horror game fan, so I kind of want you to strap you down and make you play some PSVR games
I like
and
horror
play horror
movies, but
games.
man, horror games are just there's too much. They're like, especially modern ones. I think I'm gonna try to go back and play some of the older ones because I think they look silly enough now that it won't bother me as much. But man, it's just something about like forcing the a horror game is forcing you to make the choice to scare yourself is just a mind f that I'm just not really ready for. Next up, Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind. Kind of speaking of throwbacks, this is a bit of a throwback to the Super Nintendo era. It looks like that. It looks very, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In that respect, you're kind of you're running around with what being one or more of the Rangers. It's a beat 'em up and looks interesting.
I feel like if anything, I actually feel like it's you're right, the right era, but I think it's actually more of a Game Boy Advance nostalgia because the sprites are so chunky,
Yeah.
and it has so it's like if it makes me feel like the old Game Boy Advance kind of style, which those games are a lot of fun, especially if you play with friends. The last couple Ninja Turtles games that were something similar to that were pretty fun. So I mean, I think if it comes out on something like a Game Pass, it'd be most definitely like a sure win. So
Yeah, this actually would be a pretty good game for Game Pass to kind of jump in with a ready-made group of friends and do that. Next up, Dear and Boy, which is I don't know if this is really a therapy game, but it's definitely like an immediate tearjerker type game. It's got a pretty good looking little art style. Um, there, it seems like a maybe post-apocalyptic sort of thing going on, but in a Cthulhu-esque type monsters running around, different from what was that other game we just talked about? Uh,
not Gris.
once human. Did,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking as far as the art like being kind of um
yeah,
yeah, like unique. So that's what I was thinking of that other
yeah,
team. So
Neva. It's definitely different from Neva, but it's not. I mean, it's a little bit. It's different, but it's yeah. I'll just say it's different. But as far as like the Cthulhu type monsters that are kind of looking for you, or the oversized, there's like an oversized boar, and then some other stuff that the boy seems to be hiding from. But basically, boy finds a fawn, a baby deer in the woods, and raises it, and then it grows, and it helps you solve puzzles and stuff like that. Caught my attention. Not sure if I would actually buy it and how much of it I would actually play, but it definitely caught my attention as something interesting. And I swear they better not kill that deer. I don't. This ain't no
I
Bambi.
mean, I would be more interested if it was a Play Dead game. The guys who did
Oh, and
Inside and
oh
Limbo,
gosh,
you know,
I don't think I could take
because
that.
that's what actually this reminds me of
It
for
does seem like
sure.
that.
And
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like, nature finds a way, and it's gonna be, hunting season at some point. Uh,
jeez. Anyway, so the deer is somehow special because it gets horns later, and then the horns glow. So I think it's magical. It's a Patronus or something like that. Yeah. So next up, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't know. I didn't watch anything about this game. Did you see a trailer for this?
yeah, I mentioned this to you before. The trailer, they did much more cheeky comedy trailer of the actual story, like. So they make it feel a lot more lighthearted. I don't really remember much of the first game. I know it had its fans, but this one, it was showing like, story beats, and it was a lot of quips. It made it feel, for those who are coming in thinking it's going to be like a certain way. I'm like, well, this most definitely is changing my expectations. Uh, but yeah, most definitely give that trailer a shot if for anyone who's curious about it. Uh, it's silly.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Next up, Slitterhead, which apparently has been in development for a very long time. Because you said you remembered them talking about it a while ago on Giant Bomb, and it's been a while since we were really much listeners to Giant Bomb. So I just assume it's been years and years.
I think it originally announced in like '01 or something like that. Um,
What?
or not '01. I'm sorry, 21. Sorry,
Oh gosh,
2021.
I was gonna say that's
'01.
like
Jesus.
5 generations ago.
No, yeah, no, sorry, 2021.
Okay.
It was just a really simple, quick, creepy trailer, and it kind of had that. It was the kind of weird Japanese horror vibes at that time of like, uh, Silent Hill or like Fatal Frame, just there's really creepy and awkward. And but yeah, they finally got to show more of this, and it I guess it's still creepy, but maybe not as bad as, or I guess it's not as scary as I was expecting it.
Okay.
It could still turn out to be terrifying, but I was just like, I guess I was just a little disappointed. There was
Okay.
just something I felt was missing, but maybe I just wasn't giving it my undivided attention.
It looks
So
weird, and but it also looks like a sort of, I don't want to say asset flip, but asset flippy, where some of the assets are kind of like borrowed and changed, and it just sort of has that feel to me. But that can work if it's like silly and weird enough in other ways. So we'll see how it goes. Um, Cairn, Cairn. Uh, I guess it's. Oh, is this the one with the beans? No. Oh, I missed it. Okay, never mind. So we're not going to talk about Karen yet. So there's a new roguelike shooter. Um, it's basically GTA with beans, is what Games Radar is saying. What is this game called?
Killer Bean.
Okay, that's a good name for a game about killer beans. So you thought this looked pretty cool. I just watched the
It
trailer,
looks
but
stupid, but it's like it made me laugh because for any, it takes like it's playing it over the top, and the concept is just dumb, but it's the right kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So for sure, he does all the tropes: jumping out of car, slow motion, bullet time. He's breakdancing while dodging bullets, while just shooting everyone around him who's standing in a circle trying to shoot him. It's it is a it is just really dumb, but
Uh,
it looks like I said, it's one of those like you just turn off your brain and just let the stupidness happen. And I think it's gonna be so long as it's competent, like, and they think they're funny. So I'm hoping they land it.
That's like a better land the plane. Okay. Next up, now we're gonna talk about Cairn for a second. It's a climbing game from the creators of Fury and Haven. I know Fury. Haven, I don't think I really ever touched or looked at very much. But it's a climbing game. I think it's sort of cell shaded. I didn't get to watch a trailer for this. Um, anyway, I guess it might be good. I don't know.
I like Fury, but that's a very, very different game. That's a like just like
Boss
boss
rush.
rush
Yeah.
game.
I'm wondering if there's some
So
sort of similarity, like the climbing or something is a boss rush type situation level. I
uh,
don't know.
yeah, not 100% sure. So I'm think they did show like and there's an image where like they have on Steam here where it's showing like the fissures in the rock and a lot of skulls at the end of certain lines. So maybe you have to choose your line correctly, or else you get a bad spot for like your mounting point or whatever. So,
Hmm.
but it looks interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's a unique premise at least.
Next up, we were both you more than me, but you kind of pulled me around to it. We were both kind of interested in this one, Wander Stop. Um, and I'm gonna keep trying to make fetch happen here. With this is another therapy type game, um, where you know the way that you put it was kind of interesting. Um, that you were kind of like, oh, another one of these sort of simple, happy place type games where you're kind of just moving stuff around. And then at the end of the trailer, it gets weird. It gets kind of, it goes into like a different sort of place. And you're like, oh, it caught my attention. And that's when I kind of skimmed over it and then came back to it. And, and I saw that part and I was like, oh, okay. This is maybe doing something a little different with that sort of idea.
Yeah, I actually didn't care about it at all at the beginning. It was that ending that really got to me because they have the main characters. It seems like you're a normal like coffee shop or simulator. Essentially, you forage for the goods. You make your coffee. It's like so whatever mini game or things you have to that you serve the customers. I'm like, all right, it's just one of them. That's fine. Nothing wrong with them. It looks neat art style. Um,
Yeah, the art style looks all
and
right.
but the thing is, it's I didn't missed it in the beginning of the trailer. So, but at the end, like at the moment she's just chilling on a bench and then starts having like a PTSD moment, and I'm like, huh, wait, that's different. And so you're gonna unpack some baggage of some sort, and then it says in the beginning, it rewinds it, or when I rewatched it again, it says from the creator of Stanley Parable,
Mm.
and the Beginner's Guide. So I'm like, okay, most definitely not going to be at least it shouldn't be the normal. So I'm most definitely now interested. Before like I wouldn't have cared, but there was that ending just odd enough, and now you really got me being like, okay, what's the story behind it?
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah,
so yeah, that's it.
what's really going on there? Next up, Unknown Nine Awakening. Apparently I've seen the trailer for this before or something about it before, but I don't really remember. And I didn't get to watch the trailer on this one. So what is this one?
Yeah, so this is last time they showed it. It was they showed essentially the female protagonist. She's trying to stop an invading force of some sort, like a mercenary group or something like that, who are more or less trying to. It seems like they're trying to get like special artifacts, like either religious artifacts of some sort, and she has the ability to kind of mind possess. Like astral body projection,
Okay.
and so the original trailer had shown them chaining a bunch of murders to like essentially you're in the you're in your game, the play field, and then she jumps into a soldier who then can turn around and shoot someone else, and then you can jump into someone else who then the first guy who fired, you can then fire at that guy afterwards, and kind of like domino effect uh, a bunch of things to happen. So it was a neat premise. This one had a little bit more story behind it. A lot of speculation to be believed, but essentially, like, um, once again, this shows like a Westerner coming into the area, trying, looking for something. She essentially wants revenge for someone who had been uh, murdered, or it's like, which presumably is probably her. I think it's her grandma or something like that. Because she seems like, her grandma seems to be like the uh, guiding light. The one who trained her, kind of thing, like Yoda style or something. Because you get voice, you have her grandma's voice in her head as she's giving advice or something like that, trying to get in touch with the ability. And yeah, it's a unique premise. I'm more interested in the gameplay in this one, just because it's if it plays out as smoothly as I hope it does, that'd be kind of cool. I like the idea of like setting up a bunch of things in motion, then hitting play and watching it just like happen. But I'm not sure if it's just all super slow motion, or I didn't get quite a good enough grasp on how it's going to be played out in the end. Uh, but it looks interesting. It looks like they're doing something different, and good for them.
Okay. Uh, looks okay. So next up, Intoria, the last song. I think we're getting kind of long here, so, and some of these are a little bit less interesting to me, at least. So maybe kind of list some of these as we go. Just Intoria, the last song. I don't really remember too much about it. Apparently, it's kind of been known for a little while. Um, anyway, so next up is one I do want to kind of talk about. The first descendant from Korean studio Nexon, right? And this is one of those. This is uh, most notably, it's like I guess an Unreal 5 game, so it's very pretty, very high resolution assets that are unique, and the art style's very kind of realistic and cool, but its own, but with a little bit of a stylized kind of like sci-fi cyberish. No, I wouldn't say cyberpunk, but cyberish aesthetic. And it looks like you're going to play as different characters, and it looks real pretty. It looks real pretty, if nothing else. It looks like it'll be a pretty decent action game overall. So this one, I think we were both kind of excited about.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we mentioned this one a long time ago, and that was really cool. It looked good back then. It looks good now. Uh, I'm a big fan of that sci-fi aesthetic, and like both a number, you have a handful of characters. It looks like is going through, um, and all of it just looked good. So I'm optimistic for it. I'm hoping it's is going to be another Korean team like knocking it out of the park in the sci-fi scene. Uh, I fingers crossed.
Yeah. Um, uh, so next up, Among Us developer. This isn't on our docket. So, but just to mention, Among Us developer launches the publishing arm, Outer Sloth. So I guess they're raking in big bucks, which Among Us is like one of the bigger games, a couple of years ago or whatever. So I guess it makes sense that they would have enough money to start doing that kind of stuff. And they're also doing a TV show, an Among Us TV show, and it has a star-studded cast. So I guess they really are making a ton of money. And then I think this one is out of order. We'll get to that later then. So there's those two things, and then Dune Awakening. This I think I read was some sort of. We were thinking it was like an RTS, but I think I just read it was some sort of MMO. You don't really get very much from the trailer. It's sort of just kind of feel and story, I guess. I need to see more before it piques my interest, because it's not really right now.
Yeah, because I believe the Dune RTS is already a thing. So I mean that was an old thing. But yeah, this one didn't really explain much. This did do a lot of I felt like they were doing a lot of what if timelines,
Yeah.
to tell side stories, and that part would be unique. So uh, what if he was born a girl instead? How family would how things would have played out differently? What if father survived? Stuff like that. So I was like, all right, um, it might be neat. But yeah, the most recent thing was the last year's Dune Spice Wars. Um, so like, that's we'll see how this goes out. Um, it's currently a hot property. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way they can screw this one up, right?
Leave it to WB. Next up at Battle Aces, they're calling this an RTS game for everyone. So it seems like they're trying to kind of simplify RTS down to maybe make it more appealing to the masses. Not really sure what else there is to say about it. I didn't see the trailer. If you hadn't noticed, I guess I kind of petered out on a lot of these. Next up, the finals, which is an interesting name, silly name to me.
Well, this season 3 content is what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
season 3.
So,
So anyway, but that's also coming out. I don't think really those have much to say about it. Alan Wake 2's Night Springs DLC is slated to come out as we record this tomorrow. So it's coming out on a Saturday, which
the
is because it is the 8th now. Yeah. So today it's out today as we record this, recording late at night. And it looks good. It's going to have you play as 3 different characters, and had a funny quip in there that I thought was good, and brings in a face from a different game that I thought was quite interesting. Looks like it'll be fun. At 3 characters, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to be, just a ton with each character, but that
Well, it's 3 episodes. This
Okay.
DLC is divvied up as 3 episodes of Night Springs, each episode pertaining to each character.
Right. But my larger point is, I don't think I was expecting quite that much. And now I am expecting more content than I was. With 3 episodes, I'm expecting, maybe more than originally I thought. So, do we even know how many hours this is going to be? Is this like a 5-hour, 10-hour thing?
No clue. I don't think they've hinted at that at all. But I don't know, shooting from the hip, you're looking at what, 6 hours is my hope.
Okay.
Like 6 hours that like I'd be okay with 6 hours. I mean, I'd be happier with 12, but at the same time, I don't think you want necessarily these are going to be shorter bite-sized bits is what I feel. The trailers had a good vibe to it, and we kind of already, well, I feel like they've stated that it's like we already kind of know how this ends. So it's more like it is just like a filler. It's just like it's a side tangent, but it also gives you more insight to the universe, as it were, of Alan Wake.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's going to have some weirdness in there and some comedy, which I'm looking forward to appreciating. So yeah, but well, I don't know about you. Surely you did. Did you buy the special edition or extra pack or whatever the higher priced version
It
that
was
comes with the
yeah,
DLC?
the deluxe edition came with the season pass.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be like surprisingly, I'm gonna have to be fitting that in my schedule for this next week.
Yeah.
Um, good luck trying to play that before you go camping.
No. Yeah. There's probably. I mean, I was thinking about it as we started talking about it. I was like, and I was like, no. There's probably no way. I might be able to start it, but I don't even know what good that would really do. But
Go out and buy a Steam Deck, and then there you go. You have your thing to go on the camping on the airplane, and
buy a Steam Deck and buy the game again, or and then get the deluxe or then get the DLC. Yeah, that sounds like a really good money choice right there. So anyway, we're definitely excited about that. I know. Next up, Skate 4 is they're still working on it over there at EA. Games Radar had some editorializing, said that it's a bizarre trailer or whatever. I'm not really going to go into that, but they're still working on that. I was talking to you before the cast that it's been a while since anybody made a quote good skating game, I guess a la Tony Hawk, which might be just of a different time now, or the time for that may have just kind of moved on. But I think that I'd like to see another good skating game, and hopefully they'll be able to land that trick over there at EA. See what I
Yeah.
did there?
So VR Skater is a good one for
Oh,
on the
okay.
PSVR too. It takes some getting used to, but once you get it, apparently people love it. And it's very much like kind of like the mix between the OG Tony Hawk levels, but it has the complexity of like Skate. So a lot of people really seem to dig that one. Yeah, so that's the closest thing we've had in a while, and people do love the Skate franchise.
Yeah. So Pal World is getting an expansion, a new area, and a bunch of other, and then like new creatures, I think. So that's happening. Valorant is finally coming to consoles. So people are excited about that. New World Eternum is coming out. I don't really know what this is about, but it's coming October 15th to PS5 and Xbox Series X.
That's the one that shows like a Spanish conquistador like metal face. That's all. That's all I had really seen.
Metal face.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what that's like. And then Party Animals is getting a cart mode. I forgot to put that in the docket, but it's over here. Um, Next up, Hyper Light Breaker. So this would be the sequel to Hyper Light Drifter. That is a cult, not so much cult, but definitely a hit. And for like the art style and stuff like that. So this is definitely on my list of games that I've always wanted to get back to, and I just freaking never have. So sad, but I do plan to get to Hyper Light Drifter rather at some point, hopefully before this comes out. And I'm not. It says it's coming to early access later this summer. Oh dang, they're gonna early access it. Gosh, I hate early access. Just I know that's a me thing, but so that's coming out later. But did you ever play Hyper Light Drifter?
Way back.
Okay, so you did play some or all of it.
Vita, yeah, or something like that. Like,
It was on Vita,
did it come
wasn't
out?
it?
I thought it was. I might be misremembering that. I might have a remote. I don't. I thought it was Vita. But yeah, I just remember playing it back in that like olden days. So it was fun. I was bad at it. It most definitely was fun.
Yeah. I heard good things about it. I remember hearing, spoiler alert, that I could be wrong. I heard that you should go left at the beginning rather than right, and when you go out of like the first immediate area because it's like better, like one's like way easier in the way you're supposed to go. Anyway, neither here nor there, but just kind of a weird memory that popped up. And then I have on here, yeah, so Monster Hunter Wilds, which we already talked about a little bit with the um, the PlayStation State of Play that came out last week, I guess it was. Was that? Yeah, it was like last week.
Yep.
I'm excited about Monster Hunter Wilds. It's going to be a while before it comes out. I think 25, hopefully early in 2025, because it looks like it's done. It looks like it's pretty close to done at the very least. Um, and I kind of missed the boat on the last one, and then the Rise series just didn't really seem AAA enough for me. So I'm gonna try to hopefully get into this one as it comes out, kind of hit the ride the wave of the zeitgeist, and hopefully it's not bad. But I'm excited for it at the very least.
Yeah, this trailer showed some mounted combat scenarios and being chased and stuff like that. So that was kind of a fun little trailer they had. Uh, looks really good. So, I just found it funny because they're doing like an escort mission in this trailer, and then they're like, you go hide while I pretty much solo this thing, and I'm like, yep, that sounds like a Monster Hunter thing for sure. Um, I knew plenty of friends who soloed the entire campaign, and I'm like, you are mental. I mean, the amount of patience you have, and like like they're not great gamers, but they're good. But they're like, it's like, geez, I don't have that patience. I had to roll with the team to cover myself.
Well, it's
Uh,
more fun. I mean, there's different roles and stuff. It just seems like that game. It's like cool as you're playing it like with one person, but the depth of it, I think, probably expands way more whenever you have to roll with a squad. Um, it just seems like it'd be cooler that way.
yep. And then wearing the Ryu skin
Mm,
armor set, that was pretty funny. So yeah, like I said, this game was going to sell gangbusters. I'm positive.
yeah,
The fact that the last one did so well for the Monster Hunter franchise, this one has to do well, like without a doubt.
almost certainly. Next up, Sonic X Shadow Generation. So this is a new Sonic game with Shadow. This is the same line as that most recent. So it was Sonic Generations, right? That came out. That
Yeah,
was
they've shown this one before as well.
okay.
So they just showed more gameplay of the same.
I knew that. I know
So
I've heard about this before, and I hadn't seen any trailers for it yet. But it's got Shadow, and I don't know how he does different. But
it's Sonic Generations with added content, and that's
oh,
the
okay,
added content Shadow.
okay, well,
At least that's what I thought I gleaned from it. So I could be wrong. This could be a brand new one game in the franchise, but I could have sworn it was just them remaking Sonic Generations, and then like kind of like the Persona 4 Golden version. So the extra content is Shadow and all the stuff Shadow brings to the table. So
speaking of shadows, next up, and I guess kind of the piece de resistance for the whole showcase, official showcase, is Phantom Blade Zero, which we have seen some stuff before, but it's got a combat heavy. The trailer was combat heavy in this one, which if you're not really familiar with it, it's kind of along the lines of Sekiro. In the like pseudo Japanese fantasy, pseudo medieval Japanese fantasy kind of world, and it looks kind of edge lordy, but also it
it
looks
looks
very
dark and grim like Elden Ring.
dark and grim like Elden Ring, but also looks competent. Kind of because what was it? Was it Nioh? Whenever Nioh came out, it sort of was like a bit of a surprise as like hey, this is like a not Dark Souls game that is, or was it something else? But anyway, it's like
Neo, no, Neo was Dark Souls, but it was more action based and it
yeah,
was
it's like
level based,
yeah,
and that was the big thing.
yeah. This is and so this Phantom Blade Zero has that vibe to me as like a not FromSoft game that sort of looks like a FromSoft game in a real way, but also maybe curtails it on the serious hardcore gamer aspect just a tad to make it a bit more entry friendly.
Yeah. I am probably not going to touch this with
Yeah,
full.
this one looks. It still looks like it's too much for me to really try to get into, but it looks
I
cool.
barely played what I did of Elden Ring, and there's still plenty of that game left for me, and I'm not going to go back to
It's
it.
1,000 hours of that game, no matter how far you've played in it. Um, all right, so that was like the main showcase, but then the thing that haunted all of our nightmares, Devolver Digital had a showcase that was where they couched a bunch of game announcements inside of a um, I'll say it's like a analog horror type mini movie, unsettling movie where this guy that looks like he could be sort of weird in all the wrong ways is sort of having a breakdown. Um, and yeah, so that was kind of weird. But also really cool in a way that I definitely appreciate. So they announced some games through this. First up is Tenjutsu. This is like a beat 'em up, and they had some really good anime style cutscenes that really kind of fleshed it out. Seems like it's about a girl that kicks ass and kicks people and punches them before they can shoot her with a gun, and that's part of the gameplay too. If you'll believe that. So that one looked pretty cool. Um, Next up, Possessors with parentheses around the last S. This is also from the Hyperlight team. I forget the name of that team. Do you remember? Anyway,
No, I'm drawing a blank now, and we just looked them up earlier. But
yeah.
this game's coming out, um, a coming out a year later after Hyper Light Breakers. So it's next up is Hyper Light Breakers, and the one after that is this one. So
Which is
that's
probably, go ahead.
no, go on.
I was going to say, which is probably a good thing because as I was rewatching the trailer for this, I was like, this looks a little bit rough. I got to be honest. There, um, it just like some of the hitting in the combat looks sort of stilted, like they're trying to pause at that last moment so you can tell that you got the hit, but it doesn't look like it has the right feel. It looks sort of stuttery in a way, and then also the backgrounds looked a little bit too far back or a little bit too different from the main character and whatever you're attacking. They didn't blend in properly.
Well, see, I actually liked it because it was yeah. So it's a Heart Machine is the company that does it.
Yeah.
Um, that the developer, and it kind of plays in a way of like a Metroidvania or something like that, or a side scroller beat 'em up. And there's the art I really do dig. I think the character design it's a unique choice. Kind of has the main character kind of reminds me of Hades. What's
Mm.
his name? I can't remember the main character's name.
Zagreus.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives off some of those vibes. But if it's it's going to play more akin to probably Hyper Light Drifter. I never played Solar Ash, so I don't know. But yeah, it looks good. And honestly, yeah, I think they're gonna polish it up a whole bunch.
Yeah.
As the team does. But I think this is gonna. I'm actually more excited about this than I am about Hyper Light Curse. So
Yeah, Hyper Light Breaker
that's
was it's only a different looking game. I didn't really mention that. It's a very different looking game from Drifter. So I guess that's the direction they want to go. But yeah, this one looks a little bit more because it's 2.5D or whatever. Side scrolling, and it looks like it has some pretty cool moves, and like it might be based in an interesting world universe. So yeah. And then the rest of these are kind of just want to list out the Crush House, which is sort of like a Sims. I don't even know what was really going on, but it looked sort of like a Sims reality TV show type thing.
oh that was from my gather for the trailer. It was kind of a sim scenario, or like a people. Essentially, it's a reality show, and they kept on rewinding it, showing different scenarios with the same people. So you could have scenarios where these two people love
Got
each other, hate each other, get along together,
yeah,
and all sorts of stuff. And like once again, this is the fever dream that was this digital um or Devolver Digital showcase.
yeah,
And I'm like, it seemed like a joke at first, like just a throwaway. Um, it's if you like to see a lot of multiple outcomes and like what scenarios, this is probably the game for you. I don't think it's for me,
I
but
guess. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't really know what the point of it. Well, I didn't know what the point of it was. Besides that, I didn't really see what the gameplay actually was. But maybe it'll make sense to somebody.
It's probably just a people simulator like time loop, kind of like the old.
Um,
It reminds me of like old dating sims or like like visual novel type stuff where you go through and then you're given certain choices at X Y Z moments, and then depending on what path you go down, it's like a choose your own adventure thing, right? But
right.
it's the game plays in to find the outcomes, and the purpose is more or less replayability. It's not like you have one grand story, but it's like there's probably some twisted way where everyone winds up all together or all dead or something like that. Like I would be
Yeah.
surprised if you can like burn the house down essentially or some psychopathic way.
Yeah. Maybe it's
Uh,
more of a streamer type game where it's like a sim, like a Rim World type thing where the fun is just seeing the chaos that you can make within this system. I don't know, but
I can totally see you get people to vote on what paths or how to treat people. I can see
mm,
that taking off there.
yeah, it's seeming like a streamer game. Next up, Angerfoot. I don't remember anything about this. Um, so yeah, uh, I guess yeah, you don't either. Talos Principle,
That didn't, but yeah.
Talos Principle.
Talos Principle. This was a good one. I never got to play the second one, so I liked the first one a lot. That was a really
Oh, so
unique
this
game.
okay, yeah, I forgot they made a second one. So this is Road to Elysium. So this is I guess a DLC or whatever.
Yeah, it's like expansion DLC or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why I never did play the sequel. But the first game had layers on it that you just never expected. It just seemed, so it was
I heard good
deceiving.
things, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. So like I said, I just never got around to playing the sequel, and uh, you know what, I'm almost positive I finished the first one, but I was like that was forever ago game, and but totally think that I'm glad they're doing these kind of things because it's different and it's weird and I love it. So
Finally, Cult of the Lamb, Unholy Alliance. This is some sort of expansion or something. Cult of the Lamb, I heard good things about. Um, our good friend Robert came on the podcast a long time ago and actually talked about this. I guess when it first came out, I think he talked about it. Either that or he mentioned it to me later. It all runs together. But he seemed to like Cult of the Lamb and never got around to playing it. But this is more of that, and it looks like it has. It looks like it'll be all right, at least.
the game's solid. I got to play it on the Switch a handful of months ago. Um, it's way more in depth than I expected. I really wasn't sure what to expect from it, and that thing goes in stupid directions in a funny way. But it's just like, oh wow, yeah, it's silly humor. It's a very addictive game. Totally, dude. Just, I mean, most libraries will probably have it at this point for the Switch. Give it a shot. That's what I did. Um, and it's silly, but people really love the bejesus out of this game. And yeah, so I know they came out with a different edition beforehand. So I'm not really sure what the Unholy Alliance, or maybe it was just what they announced earlier. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are going to be super stoked. So good for them.
Yep. And so that wraps it for us. We did it, Joe. We did
Yeah,
three and a half
that was
hours of podcasting today, plus pre-show stuff. So
Yeah, so we did end up so essentially we did record we're going to be missing an episode in the near future.
mhm.
Uh not next week, but the week after, cuz some of us aren't as dedicated to the program, and they're like, I got to hang out in the woods with some bears, do some cuddling or canoodling, whatever you want to call it. Um
Bear
so
canoodling.
just yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Just make sure to stream yourself while you're getting mauled. Get all the likes and
Hashtag
give us
content.
that boost of yeah. Make sure it's on this channel so we
Go
get a really big spike, and
go
then
viral.
I can then spend the next couple months mourning you. And as I find a
in
replacement
pub
for you,
in public.
who I'm
Stream
gonna then
stream your mourning process.
and then I'm gonna be like, we found a new person. I'm gonna make sure they're Nick, and they look somewhat similar to you, and I'm like, they're like, my name's Jerry. All right, Nick.
Shut the fuck up, Nick. Yeah.
It's gonna be my descent into madness. And that'll
Descent.
be, and then it's gonna be my recovery process. Yeah, I have it all planned out.
The
Um,
hero
and then
arc.
I'll start a foundation for you at that point, like
They're
Hug a
gonna do
Bear
it behind the
Foundation.
music on the podcast. um,
Uh, but yeah,
gosh.
I just remember I get per podcasting law, when you get eaten by a bear, I get all your podcasting equipment. I
Uh,
will fight your dad for it.
Legally, I'm not sure how that works, but I'll let you guys hash that out. I'm just gonna take off my shoes before I go into the afterlife. Um,
Yeah, I had to explain to Nick about um the old Japanese,
Gosh.
jumping off a building. They always like to take off their shoes, and I'm like, I never really understood the exact reason why, but I always feel like it's stepping into their like the Genkan, the house.
Yeah.
There's always a step into the house, so I'm like, well, maybe you're taking a step up to that ledge,
Yeah.
um, and so that's like
Ledge of the
you're
afterlife.
stepping into the afterlife.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
pretty good. I think that's probably where it comes from, but at least it's a good guess, if nothing else. Yeah. So with that, talking about
Good luck,
death,
Nick.
talking about the death of stuff and things. I think this podcast is now episode is officially dead.
All right. Well, this has been episode 79. Nick, as always, what are the words of wisdom you have for our fair people?
Um, Jeff Keighley, long may he reign.
All right. Down with the evil Keeley. There you go. We got to have that juxtaposition there.
Okay.
We just watched Fallout, man. You can't have a tyrant like him running the place.
You're my
no
foil.
overseers for us.
I'm gonna bleep you. You're my foil.
Wait. Now people are gonna be like, did he actually say something, or did he just believe himself?
Oh yeah, I should do that, man. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
If I'm lazy, what may I have it?
All right, guys. Until next time. This has been another Dead Pixel, and y'all take it easy.
Bye.